Hello guys, Grey Hunter here, and if you haven't heard already, there's images for Warhammer Total War that were released. How cool is that? So I'm going to be doing this video a little bit differently to the way I usually do them when we're talking about Warhammer lore and Warhammer Total War in general, actually. I'm going to be doing this with a drawing tablet, so I can draw on the images. I know the image that is currently up is not one of the images that was released, but it's there for a reason. I will get to that in a second. So I'm going to be drawing on the images, pointing out things that I think are pretty interesting. So hopefully it will show up all right in the video, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, and it won't be completely useless to you. So first things first, the map is here because I want to show off this. And this is here, Blackfire Pass. This is the scenario that the people who were invited to CA to see the demo, as it was, were shown, and it's the third battle of Blackfire Pass for those of you who might want to Google and see what exactly it is that they're supposed to be doing. So, Blackfire Pass, kind of a big deal in the Warhammer world. As you can see, it's the gate from the Empire to the Border Princes area, and the Border Princes area, as we discussed in a previous video, and we discussed in a video with Oakley from THFE Productions, this area down here, this whole area, apart from being the Border Princes, is infested with greenskins. Very bad news. So Blackfire Pass is a choke point. Very, very important choke point. And that strikes me as interesting, because it might suggest that there will be a historical battles sort of system to go with this game, which would be really cool, because as a Warhammer lore nerd, that excites me. That excites me a great deal. So I'm going to swap to one of the images that was released and cut the video back in then. Okay, so the first of these images, basically, Greatswords, these guys, taking on a stone troll, this thing, while the orcs apparently just watch, because of course they do. So something that occurs to me is that the Greatswords here, they don't actually bear a uniform that matches any of the Imperial states in the lore. They might, maybe, be the Karabberg Greatswords, who did start wearing red and black after a really epic battle that I will get to in the Empire video that I do. But the thing with Greatswords is that they're meant to be the Elector Count's personal bodyguards in most cases. So they're very, very elite, very, very heavily armored. As you can see, they're wearing what is essentially full plate on their chests, and some of them have leg armor. I'm hoping that this cursor will show up nice and neatly, but some of them have leg armor, which is pretty cool. I like that. And they've even got the detail here, you can see, the twin-tailed comet of the Empire. That is the symbol of Sigmar, and it is amazing. I love that the detail of that is in there. So, about this stone troll. This stone troll looks suitably horrible and gribbly. I love it. It looks beautiful. It's exactly what you'd imagine as someone who's played the tabletop of a troll to be. It's fantastic. It looks real as it can look in a, in a rendered sense, but it looks ferocious. It looks terrifying. It looks like it's about to jump out and eat you. It's beautiful. The Greatswords, I like that their swords are actually paid attention to. If you can see here, there's all the detail on the sword blade. All the detail on the hilt, on the blade here. You can even see a little bit of rippling on the blade. It looks fantastic. I love the way that they've done these particular images. Now, obviously, the thing with these images is that they were done for press release, so it might not entirely reflect what we're going to get as the end product. That's okay, though. It's meant to show off what CA is working on. But I'd love it if the eventual result ended up being as good looking as all of this. I do like also the detail in the orcs, because the orcs here, as you can see, the Imperial guys have armor, like armor. Armor you would imagine not being too out of the way in medieval Total War. Armor that you can kind of go, oh, I know what that does. The orcs are a lot more barbaric. As you can see, they've got like cobbled together armor that I don't even know what that's meant to be. I guess it's kind of primitive scale mail, sort of. Just metal discs sewn onto a leather jerkin or something like that. But I love that they've contrasted the swords of the Imperials with these very brutal-looking weapons. They look like if this touched you, you would be deader than dead. It's beautiful. I love the way that they've paid attention to that sort of detail. And if you contrast that with the Imperials, who have gold filigree lining their particular clothing, they've got armor that's very highly polished. It gleams. They look civilized. And I think that that's really what they were going for here. They were showing the orcs as a barbaric and grim race, and the humans as a race that kind of stands up against the barbarians at the gate, kind of like Rome in its later days. So I do really like this image. This image is very, very detailed. I'm very hesitant, though, as to whether or not that will show through when they do bring out the game. I hope so, because, hello, how cool does this look? And all the background, that background is beautiful. The lava just flowing down the mountainside. Great. So I will transfer to the next image and return. Okay, so this image here. This image has a lot of interesting things in it, especially when we consider what it means for the game as a whole. So, first off, you've got this guy over here, this big son of a bitch. This big son of a bitch is a giant, not a troll of some kind. And if you recall from the videos that I did for the Ogre Kingdoms, the giants used to be really, really powerful. Now they're kind of dumb beasts, and they're going around fighting for whoever will feed them, essentially. So it's possible that while this giant is fighting for the orcs and goblins, we might see giants that fight for the Empire. Probably not the dwarves. The dwarves don't really bring in outside help like that, and the vampire counts not so much. But for the orcs and goblins, definitely. Empire, maybe. It depends on how far they want to go with the whole Dogs of War thing. This, though, this interests me a lot as well. This is a goblin rider from a Doom Diver catapult. I don't think they're actually called anything specific, so let's just call them Doom Divers. And basically what they do is they get hitched up into the catapult and they fly off on these wings. They get launched into the air and they fly into, well, something valuable. Now, it was mentioned in one of the articles that was released that they were shown the devs piloting this thing. So that gives me some hope that we might get units like the Birdmen of Katraza, perhaps. And that would be really, really cool. I mean, flying units do have a potential to be kind of iffy. But flying units like this, that could be a real big step in the way Total War develops, and I'm excited. I'm really excited, because Doom Diver catapults are amazingly fun to play on the tabletop. Not so fun when you get hit by something that was launched from them, but, you know, they're a lot of fun. Something else to consider is that this troll over here, he's vomiting. He's vomiting onto these fellas. Troll vomit is acidic, so it will be interesting to see if it's got like an area attack kind of thing going for it, where you could potentially sacrifice the troll. Well, maybe it might not be sacrificed, considering how much this acid would probably injure somebody, but you could see the trolls being used as kind of a line-breaking unit, which would be very, very interesting, because you would have to deal with it very carefully, because if you got too close with things like Empire troops, like halberdiers, and just for a moment here, let's talk about these helmets. What the hell's going on with that? They're suddenly Spanish conquistadors? This is something that would look more at home in Telea or Estalia, but I don't know. Style choice, I guess. I suppose they're trying to differentiate halberdiers from other people in the various units. I mean, this guy over here, he hasn't even got a helmet. That is a sure way to get your head smashed. But there's so much interesting stuff going on in this picture. I've said it before, and I will probably say it many times again, but a lot of this game rests on CA being able to deliver. All of this stuff looks really, really, really cool. It looks amazing. I love the look of these pictures that they've released. I have a little bit of hesitance when it comes to whether or not they can deliver. I'm not sure that they can, but I really hope they can. Because, I mean, Who doesn't want to get smacked by a troll club? Who doesn't want their units to get smashed by a troll club? Something that did concern me a little bit, though, is that the Empire, their armies are made up of what are called state troops. They're very, very big on the whole battle line thing. That these guys are fighting, just like as a loose unit, concerns me a little bit, but I'm going to hope that it's mostly a stylistic choice to make the screenshot look amazing, because it succeeds at that. But I was really hoping for lines upon lines of halberdiers facing off against these terrors from the other side of Blackfire Pass. That would be cool. That would be amazing. But I will switch to the next image and come back to there. Okay, so this image is quite interesting to me, for one reason in particular, but let's have a look at it as a whole. So these guys here, these Demigryph Knights, these fellas, they ride basically half griffins, for lack of a better word, demigryphs. They're basically just knights on big things that aren't quite horses, that are a lot more terrifying. Kind of cool, but something that I used to play Empire and I didn't really like them. Mainly because I liked it when my knights were on horses. But enough about that. Enough about my particular stylistic choices. I like this image because it's so panoramic. It looks fantastic. But this here, actually, Karl here in general on Deathclaw, this whole bit of the image is what I kind of want to draw attention to. So, I'm really doubting that flying units, maybe heroes, possibly, because there'll probably be a single mount and rider unit, maybe they'll be able to do this in engine. But somehow I doubt it that you'll just be able to land on terrain and your creature will just be like, yep, cool, I know how to land on this, and that it'll look organic and real. I'm kind of doubting that that's going to be the case. Maybe I'd like for it to be the case, because that would be amazing. That would be really, really cool. But I somehow doubt it. So something that I do want to draw attention to, and I'll just get rid of that previous circle, is this. So in the article, well, in multiple articles, the people who went and had a look at these demos mentioned that this battle, Blackfire Pass, was a final quest kind of thing. So if you won this as the Empire, Karl would get to wield this hammer. Slight issue, he's already wielding it. This hammer is the titular Warhammer for the Warhammer universe, and it's the hammer that was given to Sigmar back in the day when he founded the Empire. It's called Gal Maraz, which is like the dwarf name for it. Basically, Skull Splitter. This thing is the weapon of the Emperors. He doesn't have to earn it. As Emperor, he's already earned the right to wield it. Now, they did say that it was kind of like Karl doesn't feel like he's worthy to wield it, and I'm imagining that it's going to be an artifact of fantastical power, so, it'll be a little bit game unbalancing if he had it at the very beginning of the game. But the lore nerd in me just, no. No, please don't do that. Please don't feed us bullshit. Please no. I want to believe, CA. I want to believe. Don't hamstring my hobby like this. Don't do that. But the hammer is really cool. I do like the hammer. The hammer is one of the best bits of Karl Franz's character in the tabletop. But as you can see, he's already wielding it, so he doesn't have to complete a quest to get it, obviously. Slight discrepancy there. Deathclaw. Deathclaw is something that I'm looking at and I'm going, my god, it looks beautiful. Deathclaw is going to be a very, very big deal, I think. Deathclaw is going to be something that you go, right, I need to break the line right there. What am I going to do? I'm going to send forth my knights, maybe these guys, maybe these Demigryph Knights. I'm going to send forth my knights, and I'm going to land this son of a bitch right in the middle of the line. Let's see them not be terrified by that. High hopes are here. High hopes indeed. I do like the idea of terrifying creatures. They seem to me like they're going to be very, very pivotal, English, can I speak it? They're going to be very, very pivotal in fighting decisively. And I'm hoping that if you have units of things like these Demigryph Knights, you'll get an advantage to pursuit and other such things. So if you break an orc army, you can run it down into the ground. Because you should. As an Empire guy, you should want to run those greenskins into the ground. Another thing that caught my eye is this fellow right here. I'm not sure if he's meant to be like a token kind of Knight of the White Wolf, because it looks like he's carrying a hammer, but I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm hoping that Knights of the White Wolf and all of the various types of knights are available to the Empire player, and not just these Demigryphs, because Demigryphs are cool and all, but I need my Reichsguard. I need all sorts of other cool stuff. So, I will cut the video here and swap to the next image and see you in a moment. Alrighty, this image here. This image is also quite interesting, mainly because of this guy. This guy right here. This guy is also carrying a hammer. He is a warrior priest of Sigmar. So Sigmar is basically the primary deity of the Empire. He's the first emperor who was basically made into a god after his rule. And the warrior priests are soldiers who fight with Sigmar's blessing, to simplify it a lot. They're really, really cool. They are really, really cool. I think that after this image I might just throw in the part of the opening sequence to Warhammer Mark of Chaos where the warrior priest is just like, right, nut up, gents, nut up. Let's have at it. And so I'm really hoping that warrior priests are going to play a big part. It looks like potentially, you'll be able to get warrior priests for individual units, which would be an interesting choice, but I'm not sure how they'd really work it unless they kind of took on the style of the tabletop, where it was, okay, you've purchased this hero, now he joins a unit, or he fights by himself. I would like for that to be a thing. That would be really cool, because it would let you customize units in a way that you've never been able to customize them before, because you could put, say, a warrior priest with this unit of halberdiers, and you would know that that unit of halberdiers would probably fight on to the very end. They'd fight on against this son of a bitch, this big bastard here, this guy. They'd fight on against him, and they'd be okay. The orcs here, they confuse me a little bit, because they're not really doing anything. I guess it's for, again, the cinematic kind of panoramic view point, but they're orcs. They should be just about to leap on this poor son of a bitch. They should be going, no, we're going to be having at ya. Wog, etc., etc. Again, the Imperial troops are not really fighting in a formation. This disappoints me somewhat. But I kind of like it at the same time. It would be nice to be able to split your unit into loose formation to take on a giant while he's trying to eat all of your people. That would be kind of cool. This thing over here, I'm not sure how well you guys can see it, but it looks like a steam tank. It looks like it might be a steam tank. Steam tanks are very, very rare creations. They were created by, and I'm going to botch this, I'm sure of it now, Leonardo di Mirigliano. Famous inventor. Famous inventor. He only built 12 of them, though, so there are only 12 in the entirety of the Empire. To bring one out and use it on the field, kind of a big deal. And the reason I think it's probably a steam tank is because one of the articles, I believe it was the Eurogamer article, they mentioned that magic was involved in this particular demo, and that an orc shaman used a spell called the Foot of Gork to flatten this son of a bitch into, well, paste, basically. So that seems very interesting, that they would include things like steam tanks. Steam tanks have the potential to be kind of, well, as somebody who likes the lore, there's not that many of them. So it seems to me like there should probably be a unit limit on how many of them you can recruit. And once they get going, they're really, really difficult to stop. So you've got to kind of think about game balance. But again, it's very, very early in development. As you can see from the whole thing, it says development in progress. It's very early in development, so I have hopes that CA can figure out how to make it cool without making it super uber broken. That said, though, I keep coming back to this as a mantra. I hope that CA can do it. Because we've been let down in the past. I remember Rome 2 looked amazing from all the screenshots and the trailers. They looked fantastic. And we got burned. We got burned really, really hard. So I like this. The optimist in me is looking at this going, oh my god, it's amazing, it's finally happening, it's finally happening. But please, CA, don't ruin it. This also intrigues me. Is this going to be a kill animation? Is this going to be something that giants can do? They could just eat your guys? That would be cool. That would be cool if so. I wonder if they would make that into kind of a eating something, well, eating an enemy unit restores a hit point or something like that. Again, it would be really difficult to balance that. So I guess unless giants were really, really, really rare, you couldn't really have a system like that. I'm not really sure, but it looks cool. And back here, we've got a dwarven gatehouse. These things litter all of Blackfire Pass because Blackfire Pass is, well, it's been fought over in the past. It's a very big deal. So the dwarves and the Empire kind of have an agreement that they will both guard the pass, and the dwarven bit of the agreement is we build these gatehouses along it to make sure that the dwarves are able to protect the realms of men, and by extension themselves, because Karaz al-Karak, as on the map, is not that far away from Blackfire Pass. So I will skip to the next image and rejoin you there. Okay, so this panoramic view, I'm assuming, is supposed to be a screenshot of just before the battle begins. And it looks really cool. I really like it. It looks fantastic to me. I think it's beautiful. You've got the giant over here, you've got another giant over here, and you've got this orc war boss on a wyvern. Hello there, good sir. Fighting Karl Franz. Now, because this is a battle from the lore of the Warhammer world, I'm wondering if this guy is going to be someone specific. It can't be Grimgor Ironhide, who's supposed to be the guy leading the orcs in Warhammer Total War. I suppose it could be. If they wanted to change that for poetic license. But I can't imagine Games Workshop going, okay, these are our characters, do what you will with them. It just doesn't strike me as a Games Workshop thing to do. They're very, very protective of their IP. So I can't see them going, here, feel free to change things. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm just overly cynical about where Games Workshop is coming from for this, but Games Workshop has given me reason, like CA, not to trust them. I have hopes, but you know, hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. So something that I like here is that we alluded to this in a previous screenshot, but the idea of the trolls and other such units being used to break the line, they're leading the charge for these orcs to come up behind them and exploit any breakthrough that they get. That is very much Warhammer in a nutshell. You have to be clever with your maneuvers. You have to maneuver your army in a way that makes sense. For the orcs, it's basically just charge straight at the throat of the enemy and try to cut it out. But for the Empire, as you can see, these are all Empire troops lined up in battle formation. They're ready, they're waiting. They're just gonna make it so the orcs and goblins have to fall on them and face the spears and the halberds and the swords right there in the line. And I really like that. I really like that as a touch. It's fantastic. And we got a better look at the Dwarven Gatehouse over here. This thing, it concerns me a little bit because it looks like it's been trashed. It looks like it's been overrun, but Blackfire Pass is very, 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 very important. The dwarves and the Empire don't just leave it to its own things. They guard this place because it's so central to the main force of orcs and goblins being able to get into the Empire, and by extension, the rest of the civilized world, as it were. Blackfire Pass is a big deal, and the dwarves would not simply leave a gatehouse untended. It just wouldn't happen. I suppose you could say that potentially this place was fought over before, and the Empire are finally pushing back. I suppose that might be the narrative that they're going for. Then again, it's a demo, and they probably just want to try and shoehorn everyone in, although they didn't really do vampires, so I guess they missed somebody, but vampires don't really tie into this whole conflict between the dwarves, the orcs and goblins, and the Empire. So I suppose, if they had to pick somebody to leave out so that they could get the other three in, that would make sense. I'm kind of interested to see what the terrain will look like. I like the variation that we've seen. We've seen all sorts of different types of terrain along this area. It's very diverse, and that, again, gives me hope. And I hate to say this, but I really, really hope that CA can pull this off. It looks fantastic. It looks amazing, and I want it to be real. The Warhammer nerd in me wants this to be real. So I'm going to cut the video here again and swap to the next screenshot, which I believe is the final one. Okay, alrighty, so this is a screenshot that, well, I'm pretty sure that it speaks for itself kind of here. This is air combat. They called it kind of dogfighting in the articles that I read, which concerns me a little bit because it's very vague. It's like one-on-one battles. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. But it's very vague about what would happen if you had units of flyers, so I'm wondering if that will happen, or if it'll just be limited to people like Karl here, who's mounted on Deathclaw, if he's going to be very, very unique, and flying creatures aren't really going to be that big of a deal when it comes to the game. That said, I wouldn't mind that. I would be okay with that. I would be a bit disappointed because I was really hoping for my Birdmen of Katraza to make it in at some point during these 3 games that they're contracted for. But if I can't have them, I'd rather have decent one-on-one dogfights between flying creatures. That would be okay. I'd sacrifice my Warhammer nerd happiness. So something that struck me as interesting is that unit sizes, I'm hoping that they do reflect this kind of thing, because these units look like pretty good sizes. They look pretty good. The orcs are very numerous. The Empire a little bit less so, but they're very, very regimented. I'm thinking that these guys are handgunners, because you can see all the smoke, and that, I know, that circling was very, very bad. I'm sorry. That was very, very terrible of me. But you can see this smoke here. That's all handgunners, I would imagine. I'm kind of disappointed that we can't see any artillery, like proper artillery, Hellblaster volley guns and such, because those are going to be amazing when they finally get round to doing them. They will be cool. This appears to be a Goblin Shaman, which makes me happy, because in the article where they were talking about magic, the Orc Shaman used Foot of Gork on a steam tank to flatten it, and the Night Goblin, well, Goblin I suppose, I'm not sure if they're going to make it Night Goblins and regular Goblins, etc., etc., but the Goblins decided that what they were going to do was they were going to cast a spell to make a unit of Pistoliers, which are light cavalry with handguns, well, pistols rather, run away, and it makes me intrigued as to whether or not these guys are going to be singular units, or again, if they're going to be able to join other people, because if you could bolster a unit with, say, a battle wizard with the Law of Fire, that would be really, really strong. That would be a strong combo. And I'm really hoping that something like that will come along. These fellows over here, these are actual goblins. So these are, actually, I think pretty much all of these are goblins. I don't see any actual orcs. But these guys are goblins. Goblins are the smaller cousins of, well, this guy. They're very small. They're more in the line of backstabbing, though not quite to the extent of the Skaven. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to combine orc armies into different types, because the goblins should be able to move faster than orcs, for example, but be less likely to stand up in a fight. I'm hoping for something like that. That would be really, really cool. So I'm hoping, once again, that CA can pull it off, and I know, harping on about it. Something else I want to draw attention to, how cool does this look? How cool is this background? That looks amazing! That looks fantastic. I doubt that it'll look quite that good when we play it on our PCs, mainly because I imagine that they have much better PCs for constructing this stuff on it than we do to play it. But they've really brought it to life. I love it. I love that they've managed to actually bring all of this stuff to life. It looks great. Deathclaw looks amazing, and this Wyvern, it looks right. It looks like it should. And so, and I'm really hopeful that the people who know what Warhammer's supposed to be like in the CA offices get to have their head on this, because if it's done right, this is going to be a fantastic game. Absolutely fantastic. So that just about really wraps up my thoughts on all of this. You can't really say anything more, because, we haven't really been told how things will work. It's been very vague, so I'm hoping at E3 and other such events they'll be more open as to how things are going to occur, but again, the dev team might not have a solid handle on all of this yet. They're probably still working out all the kinks, working out how everything's going to work, so I'm fingers crossed that it's going to turn out fantastically. If these images are anything to go by, it will be, but I hate to do this, but I feel like I should really caution and go, remember the example of Rome 2, because that looked fantastic, and turned out to be a real clusterfuck. So anyway, next time with me, Grey Hunter, when we look at, well, Warhammer Total War and such, the next lore video will be the Dwarves, as I promised. I'm just working out a few kinks on it, and then Beastmen, and I'm thinking probably the Empire after that. So you guys let me know what you want to see after the Beastmen, and I will catch you in the next video. Grey Hunter, signing out.